I'm sure if you've been doing your Masters of Business, you understand how important innovation is and ethics. I think these are the two biggest topics we're seeing in business these days. If you go to any website, you look at the tag clouds on the right, what are the big words? Innovation, responsibility, caring. You know what? I'm so sick of it. I'm completely sick of innovation and ethics. I have a corporate career in telecommunications and energy, and kind of had similar careers that you guys are all interested in, and it's pretty boring. I mean, it's great, but it's pretty boring because we're all chasing this elusive idea of something that's going to make either our idea or our business just something different. And we think it's going to be innovation, being on the cutting edge, that we think that technology's it. But what if I told you, actually, innovation and responsibility, they're old. And because you guys are the businesses of tomorrow, you're going to come up with new paradigms. I'm going to see if we can maybe come up with something today. I believe the reason why innovation, so my picture for innovation is a light bulb. It's a light bulb. And on the right, you'll see what I consider to be the Industrial Revolution. So the Industrial Revolution came about. We all decided, cool, we can make stuff en masse. We can make it really cool. We can use things like steam and wheels and put them together, and we can progress them through and even make beautiful watches and things that can inspire people to more exciting lifestyles. And that's innovation. Okay, cool. We all do innovation. We all make great products and we all do innovation. So let's consider the idea that innovation is standard. It's not unique. It's certainly not a USP. Let's just consider, because we all do it, it's a standard. And if we think about it, if you bring innovation to a personal point, it's actually creativity. And creativity we all have, right? Even Dirk, the controller, who's like, I don't know if I'm that creative. There's creative accountant. We can always be creative, and that's actually what innovation is. So I'd like to challenge you to say, with your new ideas, your corporations that you're going into, or the businesses that you're going to start with, be innovative, but it's not your cutting edge, and it's certainly not going to be the thing that's going to make your product unique. You might say, okay, maybe it's responsibility. Maybe I plant trees. Maybe I've got stamps that say I'm organic. But responsibility, let's think about it. It's been around for 20 years in a commoditized society. What I mean is in June, in Rio, we're going to celebrate 20 years of the green economy. That's when we all decided to say, okay, let's sort of look behind the sweatshops of Nike. Let's start to demand better standards in our food supply. Let's look at things like organic and fair trade and recycling and materials and things like that. So in essence, the green economy is pretty standard now too, right? You pretty much know anything you're going to be eating and drinking, you're looking at it, you're looking for the stamp. We all know that we're going to demand not only creative and innovative products, but they're also going to be ethical and responsible. Standard. Can we all agree innovation and responsibility is standard? Yeah? What do you think the paradigms are beyond that? What's going to be your idea when you come up with your great idea, your new business, or you're working at a corporation? Of course it's going to be a great product. Of course it's going to be innovative. And of course it's going to have heart. So what's going to be the thing that's going to set you apart? Any ideas? Price. Price? What do you think Karl Marx would say about that? Karl Marx talked about use value versus exchange value. The whole concept of political economy came out by what can I use it for? Or what does the exchange mean to me? What does it do for me? Or what does it mean for me? And I think this is where I'd like to go. What does it mean for me? I'm going to give you the idea of connoisseurship. So I'm a chocolate company. Of course, you can guess by the start of what I started to talk about, of course my chocolate's innovative. I created single bean virgin chocolate, first time in the world, served to kings and queens around the world. Boom, easy. Of course it's good. There's 800 people hanging out in Ecuador, having a great time on 3 plantations. We're doing vaccine programs. Yeah, boring. Everybody does that. It's not interesting. Why do you think I have the guts to quit a corporate career and go into chocolate, of which 90% of the world's chocolate is dominated by 3 organizations? 90%? 3 organizations? I'm sure when you're doing your business cases and you look at demographics like that, you think, probably not the best industry to enter, especially not knowing anything. I know nothing about chocolate, I just like it. Probably like you. Very good point. Connoisseurship. I believe creating connoisseurs is the way we can build any beautiful, great product with some creativity and some heart and bring it to market in a new way. Why do you think it's important to think about connoisseurship? I believe it's for 2 reasons. One, for elegance, and the second one for rituals. And the way we're going to do it is by turning the light on and wearing white gloves. So let's just have a look at what this means. If we look at elegance, elegance is time. Think back a few generations. Pretend we're on black and white for the moment, and let's think about Hemingway. Let's think about the times when we sat down in bars, we really enjoyed a cigar, we cared about our cognac, and we would talk with our friend. We had time where we looked at what we were buying. We're buying the first family car, wasn't just going onto a website and comparing prices and airbags and things like that, but we would take the whole family, we'd all go sit in there, we'd see that everybody fit in, and we'd imagine what it would be like winding down the wheel, winding down the windows and enjoying our new car. Time is elegant. Time is something that we've lost in our products. Time is something that a connoisseur will take to understand what he or she is putting in his mouth or what sort of car he or she is driving. They also have a very sharp intuition. Connoisseurs are sharp. Ever talk to a wine buff? Does anybody have a wine snob in their family? When you go for lunch or dinner and you bring your wine and you put it on the table and they pick it up and you instantly start to shrink and go, oh, they're going to kill me. Connoisseurs know their stuff. It is an ideal world to have a customer who is so sharp about what they love and you want to bring your product to them because you know you are working eye to eye. You're not marketing, you're not niching, you're not segmenting to them. You're actually going to be able to talk to somebody who can speak your language about what you've got. That is so exciting. That's why you want to have connoisseurs. Connoisseurs also have deep understanding of what they love. They know what they like and they know how they want to get it. So if you're creating a new product, you want connoisseurs, right? Because they're going to be the ones that are going to tell you, I want my watch to have a nice feel. I want to be able to see the display or whatever it is we're creating. So then time really, if you break it down, and elegance is what we're bringing from a creator to a receiver. So for me, it means with my chocolate, for example, it's not available anywhere unless I personally meet you. And when I personally meet you, I sit down and I spend some time. I have beans from all over the world. And we sit through and we smell them, we touch them, we rub them on our skin and we feel them. I take the time from my side, the creator, to your time to enjoy what are you really liking. We talk about sensory palates in our mouths. We're pairing with what we're eating. It's a wild, wild concept to think about a commoditized product like chocolate that you can buy for £1 down the road that you can actually have to have a personal meeting about and enjoy and learn about and understand. Because you could imagine if you spend time with somebody at that level, are they going to buy any other product after that? No. And that's why I have a 6-month waiting list for my chocolate. Let's look about rituals. Rituals are hugely important. Remember we were talking about the wine snob before? The wine snob, when you bring your wine to that dinner party, they're going to immediately start looking at what grape was it, what was the vineyard, what was the soil and slope, the weather, basically terroir notes. That's what a wine snob knows. If I asked you this about chocolate, do you think you could answer it? Could you tell me the bean, the soil, the slope, the weather, the climate? Do you think it's the same principles? If a grape comes out of the earth and a cacao bean comes out of the earth, do you think the influences of all those same things will matter as much? Sure. Do we know it? No. Do you consider yourself to love chocolate and love everything about it? But you don't know these things. Can you see my huge space for connoisseurship? And so it's not about chocolate and it's not about wine. It's about whatever the idea is that you've got and approaching your market in a completely other way, pretending that they are a consumer who is a connoisseur. They are the absolute snob of everything. You might possibly be asking me, but not everybody is highly trained and discerning. Maybe you've got a 20-cent product. Maybe you've got a 20 million euro product. Maybe you think, oh, people just, they know what they want. They're just going to buy a phone or they're just going to buy a carpet. There can't be connoisseurship in carpet. But of course there has to be, right? There will be if you create it. You can create highly trained and discerning connoisseurs for anything. All you have to do is approach them not as a consumer that's been targeted and segmented and all the beautiful stuff that you've learnt in your MBAs, but they're a connoisseur. They're somebody who's going to spend their hard-earned cash on your widget. How would we do it? Let's have a little look. For starters, understanding that a connoisseur will always demand and denounce anything that doesn't approve or fit their standards. They will demand everything from you and they will denounce if you ever deliver anything underneath that. So they're the hardest consumer you will ever have. But there's a sense of strength in that, because if they're going to be loudly screaming at you if you do something wrong, then thank God, because you'll know it now and not later when you're possibly deluded in some sort of weirdo marketplace that's just being propped up by advertising or propaganda or certain luck that you have with certain contracts. They'll tell you very, very quickly because they have a learned standard and they know what they like. Let's all create connoisseurs. Let's go work with them. Snobs, by nature, will increase the standard of any industry that they're in. Just like I asked you before, do you know about cacao beans, the terroir influences, what influence a slope or a weather impact will have? You said no. Therefore, I could imagine if I bought 10 chocolates in here and just wrote the word dark on it, you'd probably think that must be good. If I bought 10 wines in here and wrote red wine on it, would you say the same? You'd be like, honey, what is going on with this one and this one and this one? And how do I know what I like? I prefer it a little bit more tannin, I like it a little deeper. There's a big difference. Wine industry is stunning because it's got high standards, because it's got highly trained people. Maybe there's a place for you. How are we going to create connoisseurs? Let's run through it quickly. Firstly, I think we can turn the lights on for them. And secondly, I think we can put on some white gloves. What that means specifically by turning the lights on is rather than thinking what's available, I will sell. Because a connoisseur is not going to buy something because it's available. A connoisseur is going to buy something because they like it, because they know the mouthfeel, because they know they like tannins, because they know they particularly like burgundy-coloured carpets, whatever it is. We need to figure out, like my example before, dark chocolate to red wine. Oh, they're just hideous examples. If we think that chocolate is somehow special by percentage or by darkness, it's an embarrassing level of standard that somehow we consider to be acceptable, which we don't do in wine, for example, or cognac. In wine, we know the winemaker, we know the region, we know the years, and this is how we can move forward. Second thing is when we turn the lights on, we can also start talking about, I guess, the things that are commonly used to describe what we're making. For example, you might think of chocolate also as a country, Ecuador. Ecuador chocolate? Would you drink French wine? Probably not. Again, let's start looking about what we're even using to describe or consider standards to be. The way we can do that is by celebrating aficionados. That means finding the guys, the geeks in your particular industry, in your particular topic, and celebrating them, making them the absolute heroes, going to them the first time. What's going on here? Do you like this? Getting them to try is a place for market testing. Let's consider them not really market testers, but let's call them aficionados. Let's share vocab with them. Let's tell them exactly all the techniques that we're using to make our widgets or our chocolates, and let's let them know how to use, what is the vocab, what is the way. If I talk to you about a 72-hour conch, does it mean anything? If I talk to you about unroasted beans, does it mean anything? It will if I then start to share it with you, and then you'll start to demand it. Speaking of demanding, what about expertise? In the wine industry, you go to a restaurant, you sit down, and you have a sommelier who's going to come up and say, how are you feeling tonight? Are you feeling a little woody, a little light? What about, as a manufacturer, that we make sure not only our consumers are connoisseurs, but also our partners, restaurants? Is there a sommelier in your organization, or is there a sommelier in your industry that you could start working with? Train them up. I've created a whole Masters of Connoisseurship in Chocolate that's specifically for sommeliers. Easy ways to do it. It's very expensive and hard to get into. Only the best trained connoisseurs are allowed to do my program. Pretty easy way to create demand. Pretty easy way to increase standards in the industry. We can explain processes. We can invite people to our homes. We can figure out all the ways to basically increase these standards. Let's talk about white gloves. I have a butler process. What it means is a butler, I was most inspired by a particular customer. So we do high-end chocolate, right? Particular customers of ours have butlers, a very, very special process for their butlers. I looked at them a lot. Butlers are discreet and they're anticipatory. That's what makes a great butler. Even if you have a physical widget, like I have a physical chocolate, is there some way that we could bring in some sort of discreet and anticipatory service into the experience of chocolate? Sure there is. I created a way that when, for example, a dinner party happens, a butler is a person who makes it feel like everything's coming together. He's checked that the lights are on the right, he's got your favorite music, he's got the coat and bag ready if you make the move that you want to leave. He's already ready for what you're feeling like. You can create services around products that don't even necessarily make sense. For example, a butler service for chocolate that you tell us your favorite cigar, wine, cognac or whiskey, and within 21 days we'll have made, through sensory profiling, the perfect match, delivered it with your name. It's not customization, it's a step beyond that. Customization's pretty trendy right now, but can you take a step beyond that that goes into that elegant space, that space where I, as a connoisseur, feel like my whole world is coming together? Yeah, there is. You have to think about all the other elements that are in your connoisseur's life and try and make them match. I should mention that a connoisseur isn't necessarily an expert. They don't have to know everything about what you're making, but they will just know what they like. They are discerning, not experts. You have to realize that. That means they won't, even though you will teach them vocab, they won't be able to talk jargon with you. See the difference between that. So in closing, I'd like to say, of course, what you're making and what you're dreaming of is going to be stunningly high quality, because you wouldn't be able to enter the marketplace with that. Of course, it's going to be innovative, because we pretty much demand that now. Of course, you're going to be responsible. But why don't we think about making connoisseurs? And I challenge you to think about how you can make the snob in your world. Because what it's going to do is two things. It's going to create a love, and I mean a love, a very irrational love, between your business and their hearts. And they are going to fly across countries, mountains, and they will do anything to get a seat with you, which is ideal, because isn't that what we want to do? We don't want to be schlepping our product down the street for $1, trying to make any sort of margin so we can keep our families alive. We want to have the time doing what we love with somebody who is going to appreciate it. And we're going to be able to make our margins and make everything that we're looking for to mean. And that's an ideal place as an entrepreneur to be. And the second thing is you can do things like have waiting lists, even for commodities, which means at least the cash flow is a little secure for the future. So this is my challenge: create connoisseurs.